I saw you were in a 140 miles per hour chase.
Oh yeah.
What was that like?
Oh yeah, it was crazy. And I loved it, every bit of it. And it was funny because I was actually to become a police officer on your own. You have to go through field training, which you ride with a senior officer and they kind of walk you through and make sure that you're ready and prepared to be a police officer. Yeah, I was a police officer in Tucson from 2011. I left in 2017. It was an amazing career. You know, it was one of the greatest things I've ever done in my life.
Really?
You know, feeling like a superhero, being a police officer, being able to save people's lives, being an example for my son who's here at the studio.
Nice.
It was a plethora of great experiences, you know, a little bit of drama in between, but for the most part, it was great.
Yeah. I saw you were in a 140 miles per hour chase.
Oh yeah.
What was that like?
Oh yeah, it was crazy. And I loved it, every bit of it. And it was funny because I was in training at the time, riding with my FTO. And for some people that know about law enforcement, you go through training, you go to basic training before you actually become a police officer on your own. You have to go through field training, which you ride with a senior officer and they kind of walk you through and make sure that you're ready and prepared to be a police officer.
Wow.
And so in that phase 3, because there's 4 phases to it, but phase 3, almost to the end, we had a high-speed pursuit, and it was the most fun I've ever had.
That's insane.
Yeah.
So when your lights go off, can you just go whatever speed you want?
Well, within reason, right? In the law, it says with due regard. So if you don't have lights and sirens on, you could probably go over the speed limit, just as long as you're going to a specific location. Sometimes when we travel, we're trying to get to a certain place. It may be an emergency, and emergency lights cause a distraction for everybody else. So sometimes it's not conducive to have the emergency lights on, but we still want to go above the speed limit to get there quickly. So for the most part, you do it with due regard. It makes sure you're not reckless and being a nut job.
Yeah.
And you know, for the most part, we do drive probably over the speed limit.
So what happened on that chase? Like, why was the guy going so fast?
So this guy was completely a nut. He stole somebody's car at knife point. Normally, if you just take somebody's car, you steal it. If you're not doing it with violence, we normally don't do a high-speed chase, especially in Tucson.
Really?
So this guy did it at knife point, so he's done it at a violent, he's done something violent. So he's traveling. The funny thing is, man, I'm getting ready to get off duty. I'm already off. We're in the debriefing. We debrief 30 minutes before we get off. So we kind of like calm down. We go over things that we need to review, and then we get out of there. Yeah. The chase is going on while we're in debriefing, and we can hear it over the radio. We still have our radios on. And they're describing how the guy is traveling westbound on a street called Prince. And Flowing Wells is south. So he's going down Prince westbound, and it's like, wait a minute, he's coming towards the substation. He goes south on Flowing Wells, and we're like, this dude is finna come right in front of the police station on high-speed chase. And so the guys in my squad, they just left. They said, man, we getting out there. My FTO is like, no, we're going home, man. We don't need to get involved in anything. They got enough units behind them. The air support unit is there. Everybody's there. It's over.
Oh, he had a helicopter on?
Yeah, the helicopter was there. It was 2 units or 3 units behind him, allegedly, right? In our policy, it's only supposed to be 2 units in a pursuit unless it's authorized.
Okay.
But, you know, they want everybody want to have fun.
Yeah.
So lo and behold, this guy comes flying past the substation. My FTO is like, get in the car, let's go. So as soon as we pull out the gate, our sergeant authorized pursuit and also authorized pit maneuver. And that's when you drive up next to the car and you hit it from the side and it spins out and then you're able to stop the person. So that's a pit maneuver. So he authorized all of those things when we left the gate. So on and popping. The only reason, and we were able to pit maneuver the guy, because the only reason we were able to get to that point is because when we got into the chase, we're like 10th in line.
Okay.
And at the time, there's a frontage road and then there's a freeway. The frontage road has lights at it probably every mile. And so the suspect goes to the frontage road. In our policy, we have to stop at every red light. We have to come to a complete stop.
Even on a chase?
Even on a chase.
Wow.
So this guy's blowing all the red lights. He's just going right through. We get on the freeway. And so that's how we ended up hitting 140 because we tried to catch up with him. We're not obstructed by any lights.
Right.
So at 140, we were able to catch up with him, get in front of him. We tried to do the spikes. He was too quick. And then we ended up catching him on another street where he was going head on.
Shout out to today's sponsor, HelloFresh. HelloFresh makes whipping up home-cooked meals super easy. They got 15-minute meals. That's less time than it takes to get delivery. Everything's pre-portioned, delivered straight to your door every week. For me, it's a no-brainer personally. We all know it also takes the hassle out of mealtime, and it can also save you money. HelloFresh is 25% less expensive than takeout on average. I used to order takeout all the time. HelloFresh has been awesome for saving money in that way. You get a home-cooked meal on the table, more money back in your pocket, makes cooking easy. Personally, I used to suck at cooking, and HelloFresh, I can actually pull off some pretty decent meals because they got step-by-step pictured instructions, so it makes my life easy. It'll probably make yours easy as well. If you want America's #1 meal kit, go to hellofresh.com/DSH free for free breakfast for life. That's code DSH free for free breakfast for life. 1 free breakfast item per box while your subscription is active. Guys, that's free breakfast for life. hellofresh.com/DSH free. Link will be in the description. Don't forget to use code DSH free.
Onto a car, he swerved the car. We were able to pit maneuver him, spin him around, and that
So
was
you hit
history
him
for
going that fast?
No, we had to slow down. So when he was going head on to the car, he began to swerve, so he kind of lost control of the car. He slowed down to about 40, 50 miles per hour, and that's when we do the pit. It's only safe to do it around 40 miles per hour.
Got it. What car was he in?
He was in a little pickup truck, like
And he was going that
a little
fast?
2-door pickup truck. He was flying. He was going crazy.
That's insane.
Yeah, it was good when we caught him though.
Did he try to like fight you guys when you caught him?
No, he was done for.
Okay.
Because as soon as the car spun around, he tried to actually go forward, but we had another car pin him. And then that's when I got out of the car. A couple other officers got out of the car. We opened up the driver door, pulled him out, and that was it for him.
Wow. Was that like the craziest incident you had as a police officer?
No,
or whether...
no.
Oh,
that
really?
wasn't- I don't even think that was close to the craziest one. That was the craziest pursuit because we were driving so fast. We had plenty of pursuits like that. I had plenty of crazy stuff. It just depends on what spectrum, right? You have the gory stuff. You have the crazy. I can't believe this actually happened. Then you have the things where you kind of caught up in a mystery, where you're able to save somebody's life in this web of mystery. So
wow.
It's like different levels to it. So there's crazy fun, then there's crazy scary, then there's life threatening, different things like that I would consider to be all interesting.
Wow. So you were able to save some lives?
Oh, all the time. I mean, I remember vividly, and I wrote this in my book, about a young lady. We got the call that she was trying to commit suicide. She was on a bridge that's like 40 feet to the railroad track, right in front of the police station. So it was like maybe like a half a mile from the police station.
Yeah.
And normally when people are committed to wanting to commit suicide, they don't call. They don't notify anybody. They normally they're committed. They want to do it. They don't want anybody to stop them.
Right.
And sometimes when people are crying out for help and they really want some intervention, they will call 911. They'll try to seek help. This young lady did not call. It was people were driving by and they saw her dangling off the side of the bridge. So she was sitting, her butt was on the cliff part and her legs were dangling over the edge. She was literally scooting towards the edge. Just so happened, I leave the police station. I'm the only officer in the area. So I pulled up, probably about, I don't know, 50, 60 feet from her. So she couldn't really hear me pull up. I got out of the car and I had to make a decision, man. I said, either I'm going to go up to her, try to sneak up. I'm going to rope her over, towards my side. And I'm going to lean my whole body weight on this side. Because if she falls to her death. I don't want to fall with her, to be honest.
Yeah.
I really want to try to save her. So I ran up, I grabbed her like this, hugged her, took her to the crisis intervention center, and that was one of the profound moments. She was like a 16-year-old girl, and so to be there for her, to risk it, to win that battle was something I always remember.
That's incredible. What are some common misconceptions you see on social media about police officers? Because they seem to get some hate on social media.
It's a few, man. I mean, one of the things is that they're racist.
Yeah.
A bunch of racist white cops just trying to, antagonize black people, which is, are there some cops that are racist? Yeah. I mean, you got nut jobs in every profession, but by and large, it really doesn't exist in a profound way on a police department. Another one is that it's a bunch of misfits, people that couldn't make it in life other places. And so the lowest common denominator is to go be a police officer. You don't need any education or anything like that. And I think that's a huge misconception. On my police department, every black officer on the police department all had advanced degrees. Everybody had a degree all the way up to master's degree.
Wow.
And so a lot of other police officers on the police department were very established in other career fields. Like we had guys who were working in the bank industry, making 6 figures a year, and they decided they want to do something with their life as far as being a hero or serving the community. And so they quit those jobs and became police officers. So when you look at a police department, it's people from all facets of life, people with law degrees. I mean, you go down the list, you have police officers that are in every faction of life. And you do have the ones that are just grunts. They want to be there. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but they want to be there to do the job.
Right.
They want to be there to serve and protect. And if it get violent, they're ready for it.
Yeah.
And a lot of those guys come from the military. But there's a wide variety of different people that serve as police officers.
Yeah, I think people want to generalize with the racism stuff, but that's in any profession. There's going to be a few bad nuts, right?
Yeah, and it doesn't matter what race you are, right? There's black officers that are racist against white people,
Right.
and vice versa, and Hispanic and white, and it's just a human condition where people, and I would say this, I think a lot of it is less racism and more prejudice because the lack thereof exposure. So if you've never been around black people before, you may misunderstand or have a misconception of how black people act and, the things that they like or don't like, or, because for instance, like when I was growing up, everybody I'm around was loud. And that's a thing that we used to be, like as black people, not everybody, but a lot of black people are loud.
Right.
We're charismatic, we talk loud, we talk with our hands. And if you have never been around black people and you come up on a call and people are being animated with their hands, some people may think, oh my God, they're getting ready to fight. It's getting violent. And they may see it that way, but that may not be the way that it is. So some things like that do occur. But over time, officers who are patrolling in certain communities, they are used to dealing with the people in the community.
Right.
And this is one thing that I wish that people understand. I would argue the least racist police officers are the police officers that work in the inner cities because they get an opportunity to see black people from every aspect, good, the lawyers, the hardworking black folks, and then the criminal element and the people in need. And when someone gets, they're the ones taking the police report. They're the ones, picking up, dead bodies on the side of the road from people getting shot to death in gang violence. So they have this overwhelming exposure to inner city, living inner city community people that they become acclimated more so than a person who's never worked in the inner city. They may not, understand the culture as much.
Yeah. So when you were growing up, before you were an officer, how did you view police officers? Because a lot of people fear them. Were you fearful of them at first?
Yeah, I feared my dad more than police officers, but I did fear police officers, and I had nothing but negative thoughts about police officers. I thought they were all racist.
Right.
And I remember getting pulled over a couple times in my youth, and every time I got pulled over, I thought they pulled me over because I was black.
Wow.
And so culturally, that was what was taught, and you embody that. And if you wear the lenses and that's all you see, and most police officers are not black, and you're gonna have that perception that, oh man, they just pulling over because I'm black, because I'm a young man, and they mad because I'm doing, they don't make money, so they mad because they think I'm making money.
Right.
And I come to find out it's not even true whatsoever. Police officers make some really good money. Depending on what police department you work for, depending on what assignment you're in, depending on how much overtime you work. You could be making six figures as a police officer, even as a patrol cop, depending on the city. So they make decent money, good pension, all of that stuff. So all of that was sort of misconceptions that I had when I was younger.
I feel that. And why did you decide to leave after 6 years? And what was that transition like?
Yeah, so I never thought I would leave the police department. Like I said, I was inspired to become a police officer by an officer named Sean Payne. He was a white guy. I really just needed a job. My son, who's sitting over here, he wasn't born yet, and I needed to make a decision as a father that I need to take care of my son. I was trying out for the NFL. I was in the NFL draft, and things weren't really going well for me trying out for football. And I said, look, I got to get a job. I have to get a career. I need to be a dependable father for my child. And the police department was just one thing that I applied for. I didn't even think I was going to be a cop.
Right.
Like, growing up, I didn't have great experiences with cops. I got arrested when I was 8 years old for smoking vacant house. So my first real engagement with police officers was me getting arrested.
Wow.
And so all of that came into play. Long story short, I got saved, and I kind of opened my mind to police officers and kind of rethinking the way I've thought about the world in a racial sense, and also the anti-police sense. So I did the ride along with Sean Payne. I was blown away, man. He inspired me to be a cop. I said, man, I want to be a hero like Sean. And I had no intentions to ever leave. I wanted to be a chief, and I went back to get my master's degree in business leadership, which you have to have a master's degree to be a captain and above. And so I was like, this is what I want to do for a living. I enjoy my job. This is who I am. And I started to get into politics, right? So it started from my first paycheck. I looked at that paycheck and I saw them taxes come out of there, and I said, who do I need to vote for to make sure I ain't paying this much in taxes? And so I began to look at, the other side, because growing up, I was a Democrat. If you're black, you're a Democrat. Right. The Republicans are racist white people. That's what I was taught growing up. And so looking at that, I decided to kind of open my mind to looking at the political climate, looking at who is the most valuable and who I identify most with, what I want to see change in the country. So that's kind of how it started.
Right. So what would you label yourself politically right now?
I'm a registered Republican.
Okay.
I'm more conservative, but I'm a free thinker too. You know, and it's not I'm a slave to the Republican Party, and I think everything the Republicans do is right.
Right.
You know, I lean more towards Republicans because Republicans lean more towards favoring God, favoring more free speech. You know, I love my guns, and you know, the Constitution at least has the government in a position that they have to acknowledge that we have these inalienable rights.
Right.
You know, having a firearm is something that God gave us to have, and not the government. So I believe in that, man. That's what I love. You know, that I feel like there's a need to have these rights, and they shouldn't be infringed upon because somebody else's poor decisions. So the Republican Party typically leans that way: less taxes, more business oriented. So all of those things kind of attracted me to the Republican side.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw you get some hate for supporting Trump in 2016 as a black man. So what was that like? Were people just coming at you nonstop? Yeah,
it was sad, man. Some people from my church and people that I love, people I went to school with, man, they went crazy on me because I grew up in a diverse background. You know, my dad, he did well in life, you know, as a firefighter. My dad was a firefighter since he was like 18. And so we were able to move up into better communities. We went to school, however, at Dunbar High School in Fort Worth, Texas, which is right in the hood in Stop 6. And so I had the experience of being a part of different communities. And so I had experience being a part of the hood as well. And, you know, just, you know, with that experience, and I just, you know, thinking about that, I just forgot the question. What was it?
You got a lot of hate for supporting Trump.
That's right. So I went to this particular school. Everybody was cool. I had so much love from the hood, so much love from people that went to school with me. And then when I started to, you know, just open my mind, went to a Trump rally, and I said, I like what this dude is saying. You know, I'm not listening to everything the media say, and I'm not listening to what everybody say. I'm a grown man. I'm gonna go see what he has to say and see if he racist or not. But man, it was like a lot of people turned on me. Not everybody, but a lot of people. And people from my school, they like, oh, you a sellout, you an Uncle Tom, you a coon. You working for the white man. And I'm like, bruh, like y'all knew me from the beginning. Yeah. I was your boy. I was your homie. Like how all of a sudden I changed because I like a certain political candidate. I mean, I don't even know the dude. I just really like his policies. You know, at the time I liked his policies. And even at the church, man, I mean, the closer relationships was from the church because I had got saved in 2008. So I was a part of my church from 2008 all the way through to 2016. Wow. And people in the church were just turning on me.
Did they kick you out?
No, they didn't kick me out, but they had negative things to say about me online. Wow. One of the young ladies at our church, I'm not gonna say her name, but it's funny. I was on my radio show and I read her messages. Yeah. And she still got I'm surprised she haven't deleted them or blocked me. She still got the messages. She said, "You ain't nothing but an N-word, just like me. Don't never forget them white people see you like that." And this is a young lady at the church that I didn't even think cussed. Wow. She was holier than thou, speaking in tongues, running around the church. And I did not know she had that racial sentiment in her heart. Wow. And so it was troubling, but I was able to get more friends and be around people that really, identified the way I did in politics. And it has just grown from there. And those people that disagree with me, I just don't really talk to them anymore.
So none of them ended up apologizing later on?
No, a lot of them did, right?
After they saw Biden?
A few of them now since they've seen Biden, but a lot of them have, right? Okay. Some of them have come around. I would say probably 10%, which is a significant percentage when you think about it. But about 10% of people come back around and be like, "Oh, I used to feel some type of way when I listened to you before, but now I see what you're saying, man, these politics are crazy." Or I'll catch them just sending me stuff, right? They won't even say nothing. They'll just send me a clip of stuff that I've already been saying is true. And they're wondering, even my best friend, we weren't really politically opposed, but he was leaning more towards BLM type stuff. And I used to look at some of the stuff he posts and I'm just like, I love him. We dogs, that's my best friend. Yeah. But I didn't, I was like, we don't see alike on politics. Then happened. And now he all in, so a lot of people begin to change over time. Yeah. Because I just keep it real. I'm just me. And people can see that. They see like, he ain't changed. He's saying this now, but he haven't changed who he is. Maybe it's something to what he's saying.
How scary was that BLM movement for you? You weren't a police officer at the time,
thank God.
But your friends were still officers. Yeah. So what was that like?
It was absolutely mind-blowing. It was out of control, crazy. I experienced a little bit of it because BLM technically started with Trayvon Martin when he got. It's kind of where they started out at. So Barack Obama, when he was president, I was a police officer then. When some of the police interaction happened, like with the Cambridge police officers and others that Barack Obama commented on, it negatively affected us, in law enforcement on the streets. I mean, people were attacking us. It's like the relationship with the black community just disintegrated immediately.
Right.
I mean, every call you go to, oh man, y'all here us for no reason, and things like that was happening. So I got a taste of it. But me being a black officer, I experienced it way different than the white officers, right? I mean, I hate to say this, but I'm gonna keep it real. We used to joke sometimes because we'll go to a call and it was a violent person and they were black, and they're like, "Oh, Tatum, you go first, because if something happened and they're being violent, they ain't gonna fire you, they're gonna fire us."
Right.
So sometimes we would joke about stuff like that, but the white officers really had it bad because any confrontation with a white officer and a black person that turned out negatively, or even if it wasn't negatively, it turned out negatively, it looked bad. Then it's over for them. They're losing their job. They're painted as a racist. And so I experienced a little bit of it, but then when I got out, man, people used to, hit me up all the time and tell me like that they want to quit. They don't love the profession anymore.
Wow.
It's just gone out of control. They got their hands tied behind their back. These people are burning buildings and looting, and they just have to stand back like this and absolutely do nothing. And it was a really trying time for law enforcement, and I think it just progressively have gotten worse since the inception of it in 2020, or the explosion of it in 2020.
Yeah, it was scary, man. I remember living in LA at the time, and it was just like places were getting robbed and police officers wouldn't even show up.
Yeah. I mean, it was crazy. And there's two things. There's a few reasons why, right? One is that why would you show up to these places? You get into a confrontation with the wrong person, you lose everything.
Right.
And then also a lot of officers were quitting because they felt like they weren't supported. So now you have a minimum staff, and therefore you're not going to see them showing up because now it's either essential calls or, calls where somebody's actually getting versus just property damage. So they had to pick and choose what calls they went to. So it created a really negative environment.
Yeah.
And then why would you have to live, why would we, it was crazy to me to hear people disenfranchise law enforcement or defund the police, talking all that, because why as a citizen and you pay taxes and you can't even be protected?
Yeah.
You gotta let people just burn down your community because some people have political agendas. It was crazy to me.
Yeah, the defund the police stuff never made sense to me. Why would you want that?
Well, I'll tell you why. It had nothing to do with whether it made sense or not. It had everything to do with political leverage.
Right.
If you can demonize police and meet people in an emotional state, they may feel a connection to you and your party, and then therefore they may vote for you. It had nothing to do with logistics.
Right.
Because the people who wanted to ban police all had private security. They're not banning Capitol Police. They're going to make sure that law enforcement is present and ready and available for them, but they're not going to do it for the regular citizen. So it was literally a political ploy in order to get people on their side, playing on the deaths and the dead bodies of black people. That's pretty much how they did it. And I thought it was shameful. And it could have potentially have ruined law enforcement in America for a very long time.
That's crazy. So you think there's a lot of corruption on the government level, basically?
I don't believe nobody in the government. I don't believe anybody. Not at face value.
Yeah.
I'm like, the government said this. Well, let me check that. Let me double check, triple check that. They're corrupt. I mean, they've shown that they've been corrupt. I mean, look at the stuff that's happening right now. You have Hunter Biden, literally a crackhead, snorting off in a foreign country, literally with messages. His business partner has come out and said this dude is using his father's position as the vice president to get money from foreign countries. I was working with him doing the dirty deals. And also there's text messages and other documents that allude to the fact that every deal he did or certain deals he did, he gave 10% to the big man meaning Joe Biden.
Wow.
And the FBI kind of covered it up. So I'm not shocked of the corruption because it happens. Human intent may be good, but then it gets spoiled by the evilness of money, greed, and power. Yeah. And then they begin to manipulate their way to the top.
What about with Trump? Was there corruption there, you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like when I look at it, and I'm a avid Trump supporter, but I call it how I see it. You know, I some things he do that I love, and some things he do that make me want to pull my hair out, make me want to pull his hair out.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know because it's ambiguous. simply because they have not shown consistency. When Donald Trump got elected in 2016, everybody said it was an illegitimate election, right? Hillary Clinton came out and said it was an illegitimate election, and he was colluding with the Russians to get him elected.
That.
They did an investigation for 3 years. Come to find out, it was a complete phony investigation, a fraudulent. They call it a dossier, which is an affidavit that was presented to the government, and they did an investigation based on a frivolous claim.
Right.
And so that was step one. That it's like, how are they going to do that to a president? They were wrong. They never admitted to it. I'll give you another example. Hillary Clinton, it's the tier justice system. Hillary Clinton comes out. She admits that she had a server in her house. And she's a Secretary of State. She has a server in her house that the government didn't know about. She's sending and receiving classified informations on this server. And then when she's subpoenaed to go before Congress, she destroys all of it. She deletes 30,000 emails. She take hammers, literally, and bang her Blackberries and other devices to conceal the evidence.
Wow.
And we did nothing about that. Moving forward, you see some of the nefarious things that happened, and now you see that President Trump has gotten indicted on 3 different indictments.
Yeah, I saw that.
Why didn't they do it last year? Why didn't they do it the year before? He hasn't been the president in almost 4 years.
Right.
So it seems to be a political attack on him. You look at January 6th. First of all, he was impeached over it, but was acquitted in the Senate. So the impeachment came from the House of Representatives. He was acquitted in the Senate because they had made the same argument in an impeachment claim as the indictment that he's just been indicted on, that he leveraged relationships to try to thwart the election. There's a lot of flaws in that. As a former police officer and somebody that understands the law, there's a lot of flaws in that.
Yeah.
You can't demonize a person for their own thoughts, and you have the freedom to speak. And in his actual speech, he made mention for them not to go and be violent. So how did you then articulate that he had some intent to overthrow the election when Hillary and them did it in 2016? So those things are very, very suspicious to me. Now, could he be wrong? Yeah, he may have done it. You're innocent until proven guilty. So when they go to the court of law, if they prove that Donald Trump has done these things because there's sufficient evidence, he's found guilty in the court of law, he's guilty. Right. You got to do the time, my brother. But it's suspicious at face value because of some of those factors.
It is. What did you think of the White House denying security to RFK?
Well, I think that you're talking about the
protection, like they provide security to presidential candidates, right? But RFK requested it and got denied.
Yeah, I don't know the nuance and the details to that, but I think it's suspicious. I'll tell you why. Listen to what RFK is saying. He's talking about the government being corrupt. Right. He's talking about the vaccines. He's talking about everything that I believe that the Democrat Party don't want him to say because it makes them look incredibly evil and corrupt, and it makes Dr. Fauci and all these other people look corrupt. The American people saw it with their own eyes. Yeah, they shut down the church, but not the strip club. They tell you to wear a mask and they tell you not to, and it's just all of this confusing, inconsistent stuff. They say. Joe Biden came out and said in front of the world, if you get the Fauci ouchie, I call it the Fauci ouchie, you will not get sick. You will not get the right. Come to find out, you get it and you die with it. Yeah. Even if you get the Fauci ouchie. So the inconsistencies within the government is what RFK is kind of pointing out. And the assassination of his uncle, I believe, assassination of his family member. Yeah. By the CIA, by the government. Right. That is something that the current administration don't want to be out. And so I think that, and he's against vaccines too, all the way from the vaccine, all the way through, some of the other vaccines that they administer, even to adults and children. Yeah. And that's something that's, it's a big conspiracy about big pharma. It's trillions of dollars that they making off of this stuff. And so I think they probably want him to get because he's a threat to the Democrat side. Yeah. So that's just a theory of mine. With the government not being consistent, I'm leaning more towards them being fraudulent than them acting in good faith. Wow,
that's scary because growing up, you're taught to always listen to the government, but now it seems like there's a movement in the opposing way.
Well, this is the thing. People should be taught to be free thinkers. You should be taught to question everything. There's always two sides to everything. Right. And I learned this when I was a cop. It was plenty of times where I had a woman knots on her head and she comes out crying, he beat me, he beat me, he beat me. And in my mind, I'm like, when I catch this guy, it's going to be on. Right. He better not resist arrest. See what he did to this woman? Come to find out, he's the victim. And she was the, wow. I'll give you the scenario just real quick. Yeah. We went to the call. She comes out, she had a couple of knots on her head, and she called the police. She said, oh, he beat me. And so we like, okay, we're going to find this guy. So we found him down the street. Now, he got scratches and lumps on his head. Yeah. And he said, man, She went through my phone while I was asleep. It's dark in the room. I'm asleep. She went through my phone. But he said he found out later he went through her phone. When he was getting attacked, he just started getting hit in his sleep. And so he's closed eyes, just punching in the air. He think he's getting attacked by somebody.
Yeah.
Come to find out, she attacked him because she looked through his phone and thought he was cheating, or he was cheating. I can't remember which one it was.
Yeah.
And we go back to talk to her, and she admitted to it. She goes, but he was cheating on me. And I'm like, ma'am, you know you can't just assault somebody because they cheated on you. and the reason he was punching back is because it was dark and he thought he was getting, ambushed.
Yeah. Self-defense.
And so she ended up going to jail. So a couple cases like that led me to believe that I need to look at both sides of the spectrum.
Right.
So if the government says something, if any authority says something, you need to verify it. Yeah. Even if it's the people you like, even if it's Trump. I like Trump.
Yeah.
If Trump says something, I'm like, that sounds too juicy.
Right.
Okay, where's the facts? Let me figure out what's true and what's not true, and then I'll go with that theology. Never, ever, ever trust the government specifically at face value. And I would argue don't trust most people at face value. Try to figure out what the truth is, and then you go off of that.
I love that, man, because too many people hear one side, and then it's just belief from there, and they don't take the other side at all.
It's lazy. It's intellectual laziness.
Yeah.
It's like, I like this person. So I believe him, right?
Yeah.
Anything that I say, I mean, people probably like me, but it doesn't matter if you like me or not. Verify what I'm saying. My pastor used to say this all the time. He used to read from the Bible. He go, don't listen to me. Read the Bible for yourself.
Right.
When you go home, read the Bible for yourself to make sure that I'm telling you the truth. And so that's how I look at it in every aspect of life, is that don't be intellectually lazy. If you do, just understand you're probably uninformed.
Yeah.
If you are going to be an intelligent individual, you have to make sure you're informed. And I'll say information is not just confirmation bias, meaning that I'm looking for the information to validate what I believe. No, look at this side and look at the opposing side.
Yeah.
I have to say my biggest growth in my faith was that I listened to the opposing side of Christianity all the time. I listen to Muslims, apologists talk about why Christianity is wrong. I listen to Jewish people talk about why Christianity is wrong. I like to hear the opposing side so I can verify if what I believe is right.
Interesting.
Or am I completely wrong?
Yeah.
And when you do stuff like that, if you're right, you're going down the right path, this ends up being confirmation that you're right.
Wow.
But you would never know how right you really are if you never knew what the opposing argument is.
Yeah, because a lot of people that are religious will not hear other religions.
Yeah, because they're afraid.
Right.
Right? You spend your whole life believing in Buddha, or your whole life believing in Jesus. And then if you get exposed to something that you weren't prepared for, and you've already built your whole personality on you being this thing,
right, you
will completely crumble and fall apart.
Yeah, that would destroy someone. They spent their whole life, and then it turns out they don't really believe in it.
Right.
Yeah.
And true belief is wanting to know the truth, not wanting to know what you want to believe. And I think as a Christian and other, I think most major religions probably believe the same thing, is that you are called to verify what you believe. You are called to verify. Try the spirit by the spirit is what the Bible say. Precept upon precept, line upon line is what the Bible say about studying to show yourself to be approved, so you don't get yourself out there and end up falling away from the faith because you hear a person that's more informed than you about another religion. So you need to be studied up on what you actually believe. Therefore, you can have confidence in what you believe.
Man, Brandon, that was a great episode. Where can people find you? And do you want to close off with anything?
Oh, yeah. No. I mean, people can find me at The Officer Tatum on all of my social media platforms. If somebody on the show like this shirt, you can get it at Tatum Store, at tatumstore.com.
All right. Thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you, brother. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. And I'll see you next time.